You're sitting in front of the one thing you have to do. You know exactly what it is, you know how to do it, you even want it done, and still, you can't make yourself start. 10 minutes later, you look up and you've reorganized a drawer, answered 3 texts, and somehow not touched the task. And then comes the part that actually hurts, the voice that says, "What is wrong with me? Why am I so lazy?" If you have ADHD, or you spent your life wondering if you do, you've probably heard the same explanation forever. It's an attention problem. You just can't focus. So you've tried everything aimed at focus: the timers, the apps, the to do systems, the sheer white knuckle willpower. And they work for about a week, and then they quietly stop working, and you conclude the problem must be you. And it goes deeper than one undone task. It's the deadlines you swore you'd never miss again, the friends who think you didn't reply because you didn't care, the pile of half finished projects, each one starting with real excitement and stalling in the same place. And under all of it, a lifetime of the same quiet verdict: everyone else can just do the thing, so what is wrong with me? But here's what almost nobody tells you: those tools keep failing for a reason. They're all aimed at the wrong target. Because one of the most influential theories in this field changes the whole picture. What if attention is real, but it is not the whole story? In 1997, psychologist Russell Barkley published a unifying theory of ADHD in one of the leading journals in the field. His argument was influential. Attention problems are real, but they may be part of a deeper difficulty with self-regulation. In his model, the brain struggles to manage behavior across time, to bridge the gap between knowing what to do and actually doing it. This is one major model, not the only explanation of ADHD, but it helps make sense of experiences that the word attention alone cannot explain. Barkley's model begins with behavioral inhibition, the ability to hold back an automatic response long enough for other mental tools, the executive functions, to come online. Those tools help you hold information in mind and picture the future, talk yourself through a plan, regulate emotion and motivation, and take a big, messy task apart and reorganize it. In ADHD, these abilities are not simply absent. They can be inconsistent, delayed, or much harder to use at the exact moment they are needed. Once you see that, a lot of old self-blame can finally loosen. Let me show you. Here's the core idea. Before your brain can do almost anything on purpose, it has to do one small thing first: pause. Stop the automatic reaction. That tiny gap, the pause between the impulse and the action, is where all self-control lives. It's the moment where you hold back from the phone, remember what you were doing, and steer yourself back. Barkley's insight was that in ADHD, that pause button is weak. And when the pause is weak, everything built on top of it wobbles, because that pause is what gives your brain the room to manage itself, to hold the future in mind, to talk itself through a plan, to steady its own emotions. So ADHD isn't one broken skill. It's the foundation under a whole set of them being shaky. Picture it like this. That pause is what lets you hold a thought still long enough to act on it. It's what lets your inner voice say, "Not yet, finish this first." It's what buys you a half second to feel a wave of frustration without immediately doing something about it. Take away a reliable pause, and thoughts scatter before you can use them. The inner voice gets drowned out by whatever's louder, and emotions run straight from spark to action with nothing in between. No single part is broken. It's the space they all need to work, that tiny gap that keeps collapsing. Let me break that into the 3 places you actually feel it, and I think at least one is going to sound like your whole life. The first one. It's not that you can't focus, it's that you can't reliably choose where your focus goes. Think about it. You've almost certainly spent 4 straight hours locked onto something you found fascinating, forgetting to eat. That's not an attention deficit, that's the same brain hyperfocused. The trouble isn't the amount of attention, it's the steering. Your attention gets pulled by whatever is most interesting or most urgent in the moment, and it's very hard to override that on purpose. So a boring but important task and a shiny distraction are not a fair fight. This is why just focus was never useful advice. Nobody with ADHD needs to be told to focus. The part that's hard is directing it, and that's a regulation problem, not a willpower one. And notice what that does to a person over the years. You get praised for the hyperfocus, the all-nighter, the brilliant last-minute sprint, and blamed for the ordinary days you couldn't get started. Same brain, same person. So you slowly absorb the idea that you're capable when you really want to be, which quietly hardens into, "You must just not want it badly enough." That conclusion is wrong. The wanting was never the missing piece. The second, and this is the one that undoes the lazy story for good. Barkley describes ADHD as a gap between knowing and doing, and a big piece of that comes down to time. To make yourself do a boring thing now, your brain has to make the future feel real. It has to hold the reward or the deadline vividly in mind so it can outweigh the easy thing in front of you. In ADHD, that ability is weaker. The future is faint. Later doesn't feel real, which is why deadlines that are far away barely register until they're suddenly now, and the panic finally makes the future real enough to move. It's why you can honestly intend to start the report all week and only really begin it the night before, not because you were lying to yourself for 6 days, but because for 6 days the deadline simply wasn't real enough to move you. And on the seventh, at last, it was. People call it time blindness. It looks like laziness from the outside. From the inside, it's a brain that genuinely struggles to be moved by things it can't feel yet. You were never lazy. The bridge between intention and action was just harder to cross. This is also why the classic advice quietly backfires. Just break it into small steps, assumes the problem is not knowing the steps, but you usually do know them. The gap was never knowledge. It's the engine that turns knowledge into motion. And when people keep handing you knowledge you already have, the message you slowly absorb is that you're failing at something simple. You're not. You're doing something that for your brain was genuinely never simple. And the third, so much of what gets read as a character flaw, flaky, too emotional, unable to finish things, is connected to how ADHD affects motivation, reward, and arousal. Dopamine and noradrenaline are part of that system, but they are not a simple on-off fuel tank. The useful everyday truth is this: importance by itself may not create enough pull. Interest, novelty, urgency, immediate feedback, or another person's presence can make action much easier to access. It is not that you do not care. It is that caring does not always convert reliably into doing. Difficulties with inhibition and regulation can also make emotions feel faster and harder to steer. A small setback may briefly fill the whole frame, and offhand criticism may land with startling force. That does not make you too sensitive or dramatic. It means regulation may require more time and more support. None of this is a flaw in your character. It is part of the self-regulation picture Barkley was pointing toward, alongside other models that also contribute to what we know about ADHD. And here is the cruel loop. Boring but important tasks, taxes, emails, the slow administration of adult life, often provide the weakest immediate reward. They pile up. The pile becomes overwhelming, which makes starting harder, which grows the pile. From the outside, it can look like not trying. From the inside, it is like turning the key on a car that will not start again and again, while being told to press the pedal harder. So if you recognized yourself in any of that, here's what actually follows from it. If the problem was never focus or willpower or character, then no amount of trying harder was ever going to fix it, and it was never fair to ask that of yourself. What helps is not more willpower, it's building the scaffolding your brain doesn't build on its own, making the future visible instead of imagined. Deadlines, timers, things you can see. Getting the plan out of your head and onto paper where you don't have to hold it. Adding a little urgency or interest to the boring things so they can actually get fuel. Working alongside someone else so a dull task can borrow a bit of social momentum. Making rewards immediate because a payoff far in the future barely registers. In short, stop asking a brain that's brilliant in the moment and forgetful across time to also be a filing cabinet, and let the world around you hold the plan instead. And most of all, dropping the story that you're broken. Barkley's whole point was that this is a difference in self-regulation, not a defect in you. The paper is linked below. It's a landmark, and it's free to read. If this reframed something tonight, that's the work. For years, you thought you were failing at focus. You were just never told what you were actually up against, and you were never lazy. You were doing something genuinely hard without the manual, and doing it anyway. That deserves respect, not shame. Understanding what you're actually working with doesn't fix everything overnight, but it changes the story you tell about yourself from "I keep failing at something easy" to "I've been doing something hard, unarmed, for a very long time." And that shift, quietly, is where things start to get better.